Hey, thanks for accidentally clicking on Tablenauts. I'm Doolin, and today I'm going to recap for you every single game I played from my collection in August that hasn't been played yet this year. And guys, just to let you know ahead of time, August was a great month. I don't know how, but I got 41 plays of games from my collection done. And now we did add to the list again. I think I left you guys off at 165 last time, and we're going to be adding War Story Occupied France, which I'm really excited about, from Osprey Games. It's a storytelling game that is co-op, that seems strategic. Next is Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, which I'll go ahead and spoil. I didn't get played in August, but I did get played already in September, which knocking them out already. Next up is Harvest, which we did play this month, and so that one will get added, but I'll talk about it a little bit later in the video. Next up is Parkade, which is a game given to us, but it also specifically went to me, and that if it's a game for like coverage, I feel like I have to add it to the list, right? Like I own it. It's gonna have to get played, so I might as well add it to the list to include it. And then Mass Effect. Mass Effect is also a game that was sent to us that I did get played this month, and y'all, this is for coverage, and I'm pumped to keep playing. It's great. Parks Rollin' Right, another game by Keymaster that we were also given, and it went to specifically me. And that leads us, after those 6 games got added to our list, takes me to our first game that I got played in August, and I'm going to give you guys, just to recap, the rating out of 5 that I give it, the superlative that I give that rating out of 5, along with whether or not I'm going to keep the game or it's going to be tossed from my collection, so given to somebody else or turned into art or sold, whatever it might be. So Earth is the first one. I'm going to try to start telling you guys how many times I've also played this if I'm calling it. So Earth I'm not calling. This is by Inside Up Games. This is one of my favorite games that came out last year. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. This one's difficult. It was almost a call, even though I love this game. It's an outstanding game. The problem is I don't know how often it'll get played with others. And so I played it solo for my play in August, and it really, if I didn't like it solo, it probably was going to get cold. But the good news is that the solo mode in Earth is actually really fun. It's not that much fun on BGA, so don't sign up for games on BGA because there's a lot of simultaneous play. When somebody chooses an action, everybody else has these cascading actions, and waiting for people on BGA to play those cascading actions is boring and not fun. But at the table, the one time that I got to play it with a group of people was so fun, and I really actually want to play this again with Max and Kenny. I think that they enjoyed it enough that they would be willing to play it again, but it's not that exciting to them. But for me, Earth is incredible. We have to go a lot faster than that. So anyway, we're going to go on to Libertalia, which is actually my first call. This to me is a 3.5 out of 5, which is 7 out of 10. It's a good score. It's a good game. It's by Stonemaier. The problem is that, same with Earth, like I wasn't sure how much I'll get this played with Kenny and Max, and so I played it solo, didn't like the solo mode, and was like, well, I don't think this will get played with my family. I don't think they'll like it that much, and I don't think that Kenny and Max really want to play it much, and I don't want to play it by myself, so why keep it? So Libertalia, first call on the list. I'm going to be a little more brutal this time around. I'll tell you, we got quite a bit of calls this month. Next up is It's a Wonderful Kingdom by Lucky Duck and La Botte des Jeux. I think that's how you pronounce the French company that made it, but it's a keep for me, and it's a 4.5 out of 5, guys. And I'm confident in being able to tell you this, that I think this is better than the original game, It's a Wonderful World, which I love. Like it was one of my top 50 games until I played this, and I was like, this is just the better version, so that's going to go right in there. It's a Wonderful Kingdom is so fun. It's a 2-player version of It's a Wonderful World with a lot more meanness, because it's an I split, you choose game where the cards that you are drafting from, like in It's a Wonderful World, are actually just given to each player, and then you're going to create 2 piles with cards that are sabotage cards that you can play face down, and you can also just play normal cards face down, and you're trying to get the other player to pick things that they don't want and not pick the ones that you really, really want. It just adds another layer of strategy to an already great game, and because everything else is pretty much the same as It's a Wonderful World, and I love this. I think it's really well done, and I'm excited to actually try this with Max and Kenny, but I played, again, a lot of these. As we're getting further down, I'm going to have to play the solo modes of these games to get them off my list, but we're getting them played. That was not a rule that I had to do it with other people. Next up is Hunt a Killer, Death at the Dive Bar. This marks the first game that I played with somebody else, and I played this with Emily. I give this a 3 out of 5. In terms of like being a detective style games, this is not the best. I know that Hunt a Killer does well produced game, like they blow it out of the water when it comes to the components that you get. Like that, for instance, in this one, there was this little bag that had clues in it that the whole time we were trying to find a way to unlock with a combination. And when we finally did, it like flew open, and it was really, really cool. And they always have like things you would find in like escape room games in their thing. So like it draws you in, but the actual like puzzle itself, I was not impressed by. Now, all that being said, it was like $15, so you know, I got my money's worth, I think. But the thing is that it was okay. Either way, it's a Cull because it's a one and done game anyway. So Hunt a Killer, Death at the Dive Bar, 3 out of 5. It was 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10, fine. Is what word I would say. It's above average, just above average. But it's a Cull. Next up is from Horrible Guild Games. This is Evergreen, which again played solo. But I love this. I think that my love for Horrible Guild's specific games that are puzzly, like Railroad Inc., like all of Railroad Inc.'s versions are very fun and give me the same type of puzzly feel that Evergreen gives me, but Evergreen is more complex. And this is like one of the most well-produced games for the price. And so if you're looking for a fun, like drafty, puzzly game that is thinky for a decent price, Evergreen is right up your alley, and I give this a 4 out of 5. It's great. It's incredible. Panda Panda is next by All Play, and this is an easy keep. In fact, we got 2 copies, and we actually threw them together because the base game is 2 to 4, but if you have 2 copies, you can play up to 8 people, and so I played that way with my family, and they loved it. It's only a 3.5, so that means a 3.5 out of 5 is good. It's a good rating. Not great, but good. And I just think that it fits that, like, you know, card game for a group of people that, like, need something quick, and it's a little bit mean, but also just, like, filled with that like build up to a or yes like moment. And then that leads me to the next small box All Play game called Fairy. This is a keep because it's so small and also really, really silly. If I needed to show somebody a game that just does not like care for any bit of strategy in a game, Fairy would be a game that I'd show them. I also think that like little kids would be able to play this, and so if there's like a family over like visiting Emily and I, we could absolutely play this with them. It's a 2.5 out of 5, which is like right in the middle of where you can give ratings, and I call those meh games. It's a meh game, but with like every once in a while it's gonna be funny, and so why get rid of it when it's so small and silly and cool. Courtisans by Pandasaurus is next, and this is an easy keep. I've compared this to Biblios a lot. It's you draw 3 cards, you give one to yourself, give one to another player, and put one in the scoring, affecting scoring of that color. And it's so mean and fun and silly that I don't know why anybody who likes mean games would avoid this. It's a must buy if you're into that. And Courtisans is just so fun. I've loved every play that we've had of it, and it's a keep. It's a 4 out of 5. It's great. Next up is Rook, which I got to play with Emily and her grandma. And they're actually the ones who taught me the game. And it's Emily's copy, but it's in our collection, so I had to play it. And so this is a keep. It's a 4 out of 5. It's a great, really, really old at this point, but really, really great trick taker. And I like that in this, there's a bit more strategy with the way that you bet, because there's always cards dealt to the middle at the start of each round. And after you look at your hand, you are going to place a bet as to how many of the points in the hands that you're going to get. And you don't win points through just taking a trick. You win points by, in the trick that you win, having a 14, a 10, or a 5, which all have different point values. And so if you bid the highest and nobody else after you bids, like they all pass, you actually get to take the cards from the middle that were dealt at the very beginning and look through it and swap cards in and out of what is called the I can't remember. Either way, it's this pile, and basically make your hand even better. And so you're hoping that if you overbid, that the cards in the I was hoping that I think it's like a blind or something like that, that are good enough that can get you those extra points that you thought you might be able to get. But either way, they're like, Emily's family is very good at this game, and I learned through them that there's a lot more strategy to this, and I understand why people love this game. Next up is Telestrations by the Op Games. This is a 3.5 out of 5, which is good to me, and I played this at Gen Con with Max and a few other creators that were so funny and fun to play with. And this is an interesting game because there's not really a winner or loser. It's just everybody has fun, because it's essentially Pictionary meets the game Telephone, where you're like whispering in somebody's ear and then they're whispering in somebody's ear. And it's just silly. I don't know why I would actually cull this game. I have the party pack version, which plays up to 12 people, and so easy decision to keep. Next up is Tranquility by Lucky Duck, and I played this with Emily, thinking, if Emily doesn't like this, there's no reason to keep it, because it's solo mode. Nobody needs to play Tranquility solo. But it ends up being a keep. It's a 3.5 out of 5. It's good, and Emily enjoyed it enough that at the end of it, she was like, I would love to play that again. And so we're keeping it for now. I don't know how many plays we'll get out of it, but it's a good enough co-op that we decided to keep it, and we barely lost. Like, we got to the very, very end and just needed one card to go in one section, and we were like frustrated, but it was a good frustration. Next up is by Dolphin Hat Games. This is Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, which is an easy keep because this game is so silly and fun. It's a 4 out of 5 for me, and it's a great game to teach people who don't know much about like the hobby, or especially kids who are like a card game. I don't want to play a card game, but you teach them this game and they're like, oh my gosh, like board games are fun. And so Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, easy keep. Next up is one that I almost didn't choose to keep, but I did end up because my family really likes it. It's called Herd Mentality by Big Potato Games, and my sister actually got this for me. It's weird because like the box has like felt on it. It looks like a cow and it has felt. But this game is like Green Team Wins, but maybe a little bit better. And I only gave it a 3 out of 5, so that means it's fine. It's a fine game. I think that those games I get really excited about when I first play them, but then when going back to them regularly, I don't like them as much as I used to. But it's fun. Like, my family likes learning new things about each other, and it's silly, and there's a mechanic that if you're the odd one out, you get this pink cow that comes with the game, and if you have the pink cow, even if you get to the point total that you need to win, you can't win. And so you have to have somebody else be the odd one out, the only one out, to pass that pink cow to somebody else. And that's like it can feel bad, but it's also silly, like, so who cares? And next up is Doodle Dash by Chili Fox Games. I obviously played I got a lot of these like party games done all at once with my family, and Doodle Dash might have been my favorite play that we played with them by Chili Fox Games. This is a keep. It's a 4 out of 5. It's maybe this and Pictomania, I go back and forth as to being the best drawing style game, and in this one, I think it's the simplest for how good it is, because all you're trying to do is draw as fast as you can what the word is that the person's trying to guess, and you're trying to beat everybody else at the table, but while also making your drawing legible enough that the person guesses the word. And so it's really fun, it's really quick, and it's really easy. So Doodle Dash, great party game. Next up is by Brotherwise Games. This is Overboss, and I fully expected to actually call this because I don't see it getting played over other tile layers that I own, specifically with Emily, who doesn't really like care about the video game like aesthetic of this game, but I played the solo mode, and guys, the solo mode actually slaps. It's great. They have like scenario based things in the back of the rulebook that you can play through, and I played it and I was like, man, I can't get rid of this. This is too good. It's a 4 out of 5. It's great to me, and I'm actually looking forward to playing it more solo. Next up is a Cull. This is by Weird Draft Games, and I had such high hopes for this game, but unfortunately it just didn't hit like I was hoping that it would. And this is a 2 out of 5. It's called Big Easy Busking, and this is set in New Orleans, and it's got beautiful art and beautiful colors. It's even like the way it plays is like deck building to some degree, because you're getting new like songs to be able to play, because you're trying to play these songs at different locations and be the best at that location. So there's area control, there's deck building, but it's just messy, and it's not great deck building, and it's not great area control. And I just left thinking like this was a great idea that was not expounded upon well enough, and so it's not a keep for me. I'm really disappointed by it, because I really wanted to like it, but it's a Cull. 2 out of 5. Big Easy Busking, and this is another Cull. We're culling a game that was given to me by Kyle, but he gave me the permission to play it and then call it if I wanted to, and that is Meadow by Rebel Studio. This is a good, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good game that I just think for what it is, it's not going to get played. It's not going to get played by Max and Kenny. They would take one look at this game and be like, no, I'm not playing that. It might get played by Emily. She might be willing to learn it, but out of all the games I could teach her, I don't think Meadow is worth the teach. But it is fun, and I like the solo mode. It's just I would rather play. In my mind, it almost feels like a mixture of Everdell and Wingspan. So for some of you, that might get you really excited. But I'd rather play both of those games, and so I don't need Meadow in my collection. But next up, by Keymaster Games, this is Harvest. Played this with Max and Kenny, and it was a Kenny game. If you watched our draft video, Kenny drafted this. He learned it. He taught it to us. We played it. I loved it. They liked it. 4 out of 5. It's great. My gosh, there's a lot of ways to score points here, and you can really get an engine building, because at the start of the game, it's kind of like a Stardew Valley effect where you're given a farm with nothing on it, and there's just tons of woods that you have to clear out, but by the end of the game, you have this massive farm that you've built, and it's really fun. Really great game. I highly recommend checking it out, because I think there's enough there that for worker placement fans, you're gonna get a good game out of this. Next up is Paint the Roses by North Star Games. This was a game I played with Max and Kenny, and I even prefaced it with saying, since we've won this game before, I've not really found much joy going back to it, because the joy I got from the game originally was, oh man, are we ever gonna win this? Are we gonna play this and actually win? And when we finally did, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. And we played it, and that did not change. We lost, and Kenny was frustrated because he felt like there wasn't really anything we could have done, even though we played a near perfect game, to make us win. And I get it. I understand his thoughts on it. And I think it's fine. I gave it a 3 out of 5 after I think probably 10 plays of Paint the Roses. So it's a Cull. And so Nimalia is next by Lucky Duck. I also played this with Max and Kenny. And this is a keep. This is an easy keep because it's fun, it's puzzly, it's a small box game. And it's also like competitive in a in a nice way where I really feel like I'm affecting other people at the table by what I choose to not draft and hand to the other people. And a lot of the scoring conditions are actually like, I want more of a certain thing than other players, or I want less of a certain thing than other players. And so I am actually paying attention to what other people are doing. It's not like a heads down solo together kind of game. And I think it's very well done. It's 4 out of 5. This was thankfully taught to me and Emily by Jeff and Jamie when we visited them last year. Or we left and immediately bought it because we really liked it, and I still want to keep it. It's really fun. Next up is I might do another Cull right here. No, I'm gonna keep it. This is Raiders of the North Sea by Garfield Games. I played it solo. I don't think that Max and Kenny will really want to play it. No, I'm talking myself out of it. It's a 4 out of 5. It's great. It's very fun, but I don't think that the solo mode is good enough, even though like they have an app for it that controls like these AI players. I don't think I need to play this solo again, and I don't think that it's gonna get played like with friends. And so yeah, you know what? More calling right here for you. In the moment, deciding that's a Cull. Speaking of Culls, we're going to Tiny Epic Dungeons, which is a game that I got really excited about with Max when we previewed it the very first year of Tablenauts. It was right after Jash left. We got sent this game. It was one of the, I think, first 3 games we ever got sent, and it was a lot of fun. I loved the dungeon delving that Tiny Epic Dungeons gave, but after getting my own copy, it's not one that gets played with friends, and so the solo mode's good. In fact, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It's good, but I don't feel like I really need it in comparison to other like dungeon crawling games. That being said, I've decided that I'm gonna give this to Jash, and Jash, if you're watching, surprise. But Jash loves all the Tiny Epic games, and so I figure I'll keep it around until he gets there. But in my honest opinion, it's I've already considered it not a part of my collection. It's in a box waiting for Jash to get back, or I might send it to him. It would be heavy because I have all the game mats, so maybe not. I don't know. Next up is Batman Everybody Lies by Portal Games, and this is from the Detective crew, the people who made the Detective game, which is, people love that game, and I enjoyed it. This is a keep for now because I do want to continue playing through it. I fully expected to play the tutorial and play like the first mission and think, I don't need to keep this. But it actually was a lot of fun, and it's weird because on the front box it shows Batman and it's a Batman themed game, and that draws me in. But you don't play as Batman. Batman is a visitable character that can help you, but like you play as his like friends that he knows, and not even like the fun friends that he knows. Like you have Catwoman, which is fun. I play as Catwoman, but like the other people, I forget their names, but it's like some dude I've never heard of that like works for the police department that isn't the Commissioner Gordon. But that being said, I can't rate it yet because I haven't played through much of it. I just got enough to get a play in, but I liked it and I'm gonna keep it. Next up is another solo game by Platypus Industries, and this is Ratcatcher, which, man, guys, if you want to talk about like a stunningly beautiful game to look at, Ratcatcher is it. Like it's a 4.5 out of 5. It's an outstanding solo game, very, very fun, asymmetric, race to 10 points game where you as a Ratcatcher are facing off against and you can choose your Ratcatcher. They're all wildly different, and then choosing a boss to fight that like your game, which they're all wildly different. And I lost my game in epic fashion where like I just got overwhelmed by rats, and by the end of it I was like, this is so fun. Like it's so well done, It's a difficult game, but it's a rewarding game when you finally win. And I love Ratcatcher. I think I've won about 40% of the times that I've played, and it just every time I go back to it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like, I gotta pay attention, I gotta really try, and it gives me good feelings, good vibes the whole time I play, and just beautiful again. Next up is Dice and Dragons by Golden Egg Games, and this is a game with a lot of controversy surrounding it because I know the guy who made it has trouble fulfilling his Kickstarters, and I got this well before I knew anything about board games. I actually went, well, I say that, I was at Gen Con, but it was like when I first was getting into games and didn't have a very big collection. I think I had like 20 games, and I demoed this with Josh and Warren, and I left thinking, this is so cool. Like it's basically, it takes basic elements of Yahtzee where you're trying to roll and you can re-roll some dice to get things you want, and D&D, and mixes them together. And so you have your character sheet where depending on, rogue, wizard, whatever you choose, like you can try to go for your combinations that are printed on your thing, kind of like Dice Throne, honestly. But Dice Throne is way more interesting, and I've played way more interesting games since then, because this is like, it's like literally if everybody was given a Yahtzee sheet, but the Yahtzee things that you're rolling do damage to a dragon. It's a Cull. It's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. It's meh now. Compared to the other games that I own, it's like, why would I ever play this? And the game that I had, I've actually introduced to some people that aren't really into games, and they liked it, but like none of them even really loved it that much. And I left thinking like, this was actually a bad gameplay, because hardly any of us ever got to roll like the really difficult combinations on our sheet. And so like there was someone who didn't do a single damage to the monster, and it was like, how is this good? Like how do we mitigate that? And like I don't know, I left it thinking like, this is not that great, but interesting ideas, and I did like it at some point. So 2.5 out of 5, meh game. But that same crew, I introduced Love Letter to, fully expecting like, this is a game I don't need anymore. There was the old days where I used to play Love Letter all the time, and I don't really need to play it anymore. And it's great. I forgot how good Love Letter is. I have the little bag version of Love Letter, and it's just an outstanding, like, quick deduction-y card game, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's up there. I don't know why, like, at some point in my mind, Love Letter just wasn't that great anymore, but I was wrong. Love Letter is a fantastic game, and it belongs in pretty much anybody's collection who's into that style of game. Next up is a game called Bounce Off, and this is by Korea Board Games, and this is a game that I saw, I think, on Instagram, somebody playing, and it feels like one of those games you'd see at a carnival where you're trying to bounce like balls into positions to win points, and it's it's really silly. It can be taught in like 2 seconds, and I played it with that Love Letter crew, and all of them got really into it and really excited. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's not like the best game ever. It's bouncing balls into a cup thing, type of feeling, but it's good enough that like I'm keeping it for the right crowd. And so it's a fine game, 3 out of 5. But I actually do really like this, and you can get, I think, a $7 knockoff version on Amazon that works. That is fun to play. Next up is Downtown Farmers Market by Blue Orange Games. This one's the one that I played with Emily, and we originally bought this in the same manner as Nimalia because we played it with Jeff and Jamie, loved it, and decided, hey, we need to get our own copy. And I give this a 4 out of 5. It's a mean, fun, drafty tile game, and it's really simple, really easy to teach. I think Jamie taught it to us in like a minute, and we were ready to go. But more so than a lot of games, this game can be set up in like 2 seconds. And so Downtown Farmers Market, for what it is, really great. Next is Clue, which we have the Sevilla edition, which is like I think it's a made edition for Sevilla, Spain. And so if you're a fan of that specific city in Spain, you might like this version. But Emily, and I now, because we visited it together, but she studied abroad in Sevilla, and so for her birthday, one of her gifts that I got her, because Clue is also one of her favorite games, is I saw a Sevilla version of Clue, and I got her it, and we played it together. And so this is Clue's fun. It's fine. In fact, I give it a 3.5. It's a good game. But to me, like, this is a 5 out of 5 gift. She says it's one of her favorite gifts she's ever gotten, and so I'm happy that it's in our collection. That leads me to a game that I am very happy to own, which is Aftermath by Plaid Hat Games. And I mentioned on our Instagram a post about Aftermath saying that it is just Mice and Mystics, but improved upon in every way. And I stand by that. Aftermath is incredible. After only just one play that took, I think learning the game and playing the game for the first full session, like first full world. So through multiple battles and multiple like rounds, I think it took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But this game is awesome. I'm not rating it yet because I want to play more of it before. But if I only get to play this solo, that's still okay. Aftermath is awesome. And I hope, I've been told since that it's actually in possession of Z-Man Games now. So Z-Man Games, I'm calling you out. Please put out expansions to this, because Aftermath is so fun and it's a world I'd love to return to. But anyway, that leads me to Seas of Havoc by Rock Manor Games. And this is a game that I really want to love. When it first got announced, I was like so excited because it's the Set of Watch people, and they were making a area control worker placement fighting pirate game, and I was like, oh, I'm all in. I got all of the stuff I could get. I got the play mat, I got all the expansions in the Kickstarter. But we played it with Jash, Max, and Kenny, and it just didn't hit with them as much as I was hoping. Kenny didn't like it. Max and Jash were just like, oh yeah, that's good. And so I knew, like, if I wanted to keep this, it had to have a good solo mode. And unfortunately, as much as I love Set of Watch, their solo game, like one of my favorite solo games of all time, this just doesn't have a good solo mode. And so regrettably, it's a 3.5 out of 5. Good. And I'm getting rid of it. I'm calling it. Which might be, my goodness, burps. Might be my saddest Cull I have to do. But it's going to make way for room on my shelf for other games that I will like more and will actually get to be played more. And that leads me to another Cull, which is by Starling Games. This is a game that we were given at Gen Con. I think every single content creator was given it with like their badge, which is an interesting way to like get it in the hands of more people. I give this a 3 out of 5. It's fine. It's called Flourish by Starling Games. And believe it or not, like based off of the cover, I would have guessed like there's a little bit more to this because it's a big box, and I don't know, those like nature games can sometimes be deceivingly like way deeper of a game, but this is like the most easy to learn like drafting game, point salad, like comparable to Sushi Go game that I've played. It's just not that interesting. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's fine. It's better than it's above average, better than meh, but it's not a game that I don't think I could get anyone interested in my friend group or family. So easy decision to call. That leads me to another solo game. This is called Wreckland Run by Renegade Game Studio, and it is also a 3 out of 5. Fine, 6 out of 10 game. I was really hoping, like, this is in the solo series by Renegade Games, that this would be a like really, really exciting game for me, because it's like Mad Max themed. Like, you play as a dude in the post-apocalypse, driving a car around, and you're like bumping into other cars and trying to take down bosses. It's just not that exciting. And I got like everything. This was another Kickstarter that I'm calling, because it didn't hit the way I was hoping. And that is a discussion for another day, but I feel like my track record for backing Kickstarters that actually hit really well is pretty low. But anyway, that's a Cull. And maybe it's just because I have really high expectations and they don't meet them. And maybe Kickstarter in and of itself, like, because you've waited for so long, like, you have really high expectations. And I don't know. Either way, discussion for another day. That leads me to Mass Effect by Modifius Entertainment. And this is one we got sent. And Mass Effect is my favorite video game franchise of all time. I think it's also Kenny's favorite video game franchise of all time. And I've yet to play it with Max and Kenny, but this game is awesome. Like, I love it, and I've only played one session of it, but the upgradingness, and here's the thing, all of us take with a grain of salt. My favorite video game franchise of all time, so like, I got really excited already playing it, just seeing the characters and all this stuff, but it's a very well-made video game board game. Might be one of the best ones, and I might even be tempted to say it's the best one if it wasn't for Elder Scrolls, which is just on a whole other, I don't know. It's great as well. But either way, Mass Effect, awesome. Not rating it yet because I want to play it with Max and Kenny first, but just know it's up there. It's very, very good. It's going to be a keep. Easy. That leads me to Macro Crime City, which I played with Emily. We've actually played through almost everything in this box. I think we only have two crimes to solve left, but we're keeping it until we finish those and know that probably by the end of the year it'll get cold. But I got to finish those first. And then I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. 6 left, guys. We're almost there. I played Canvas by Road to Infamy Games, and this is one I've had for a while. I've just not taken the time to learn, but it's the box that its whole thing is that you can like hang it up as a picture because it's beautiful, but it's also a board game. So you can take it off the wall and play it. In fact, it has like a punch in the back that you can just hang it on like a hook. But this, I was surprised at how much I actually really enjoyed the game itself. The idea of like making your own paintings with these little like translucent like sleeves that you put, cards that you put into sleeves are really, really neat. And it's definitely a point salad-y like set collection-y game, but it's over so fast and it's so stunning to look at and well made that it's an easy keep. And I think Emily's gonna love this. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's good, but it's one that's an easy decision to keep just because of the nature of what it is. And this is a case for production mattering just a ton, because it's gonna draw people in. This might fly to the top of my list of games for people that are kind of into board games but aren't really into them yet, that I can pull out and be like, check this out, like this is neat. And that leads me to another solo game, which is Hoplomachus Victorum by Chip Theory Games, and I'm keeping it 4 out of 5. It's great. I need a way, and I think I've found a way, and I'm going to show you, to set it up and leave it out, because not like packing it all up and then finding the urge to like pull it out again and remember rules is difficult. And so I'm going to leave it out, and I'm going to, hopefully it'll be one of those games for me that I'll go back to regularly. But it nearly got to like, I was leaning Cull before I played it, because I was like, this is such a hard game to find motivation to play after not playing it for a while. But once you start playing it again, it's like, oh, this is actually really, really fun. So it's a keep. It's a solo only. It's supposed to be gladiator themed, and it is, but in my mind, it's like you're playing a gladiator Pokemon game, because you're trying to face these 4 gyms essentially, but they're bosses. And as you make your way through the weeks leading up to those fights, you have to fight other groups of people, and in doing so, you have the opportunity to pull in any player that you didn't murder, and have them join your group. And they all have like their strengths and weaknesses and different colors that matter for those strengths and weaknesses. It's just Pokemon. It's just Pokemon the game, and it's very fun. Next up is one that Emily and I love. We've played through all of the story mode, but there's plenty left to this game that we haven't seen that is beyond the story, and that is The Initiative by Unexpected Games. This is a keep, if only for the nostalgia of how much we loved it. One day we might just turn it into like an art piece, which I've shown you guys I can do before. But for now, we're like, hey, this is fun enough. Like the expanded upon like extra gameplay you can have is fun enough that we're going to keep it and keep playing. So this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Outstanding game. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever played through with Emily. Next up is Outer Rim by Fantasy Flight Games, and this is my, out of 41 games, this is my only 5 out of 5. It was the best play of August, and thank you so much, Kenny, if you're watching this far in the video, for teaching it to me and letting me play with you, because this is so good. I immediately ordered the expansion as soon as we were finished playing, because we played with Kenny's copy, which has the expansion. But man, Outer Rim is so good, and I can see it being great solo. I can see it being great too, and I want to try it at 3. Next up is another Star Wars game I played with Kenny. It's Star Wars Air, Land, and Sea, and Max, great job with this. It's a fan-made copy of Air, Land, and Sea with a Star Wars aesthetic. Great idea to give this to me as a gift. It's a 4.5 out of 5. Outstanding, near perfect 2-player game that, if you are a fan of Marvel Snap, know that I think there's zero chance that you won't love Air, Land, and Sea. Just a great 2-player card game that's very quick and fun. And my last play, I think, is maybe the first board game of the modern era of games I played and owned when I was in college. Forbidden Island by Game Right Games. And this was one that I saw played on by Will Wheaton and his friends on YouTube, and just immediately wanted to get my own copy. And playing it solo, I was just like flooded with all of those memories of playing this game. And this is going to be a keep probably as long as I have a board game collection, just as a nostalgia piece. And it's a 3.5 out of 5. Good. It started what became a huge love and hobby in my life, and that YouTube channel really helped me cultivate a love that has given me like some of my best friends. And so I don't know, Forbidden Island is just, it has all of those memories tied up in the game, and so it's going to be an easy keep. And that is my list for August. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. I think I'm not going to be able to do the math here in my head. The number is obviously in the corner here, but I think I'm going to be able to do it. I think I'm going to at least get really, really close, because even though I'm a little behind schedule, I've saved a lot of like really easy party games to play, all in quick succession. So we'll see. I'm holding my fingers crossed, but I have 4 months left to get the rest of these games played. I think I started at a 260 range, so some of you are like, you're only halfway there, but I think I've added like 40 or 50 over the course of the year to that list. So my starting list was probably like 310, and now I'm at like 130 or something like that. And so I'm doing well. I'm gonna try to get them all done, but thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.